What is going on, guys? This is All Gaming with my review of No Game, No Life episode 6, and this episode, it was pretty freaking incredible. Now, the second half of the episode, that right there was some crazy stuff, and this game got so freaking intense, but I definitely enjoyed it a lot. So the episode itself, it starts off from last week where we have our characters now, they're in the library, and of course they are now approaching, the Fugle. And so at first, they're kind of like reacting to her voice some, but we see now that everybody calmed down and they're now sitting at this table. And so of course now the Fugle is like wondering, what do they want here? And of course, Shiro tells her that he actually wants the library. And so now basically, it kind of leads to them, challenging each other to this game. And we actually learned that this Fugle, the way she talks and sounds, this right here might not be her true voice. As we actually learned that according to Shiro, the way she talks, it actually reminds her of somebody famous. So it might be possible that she is a person is somebody else, and maybe her true voice, it could be a lot darker and possibly evil. Because as she said herself, before it was forbidden to murder, the Fugle race, they're taking, like a lot of people's lives. So it would make sense for her not to sound so nice and sweet. But eventually, we get this hilarious scene where with this Fugle or Jibril, I believe that's how you say her name. She actually thinks that Sora and Shiro, they're like regular humans or the race that they're called in this world, and apparently she would not believe what they're saying about them being from like another world, and so she actually wanted to check their bodies, and and Sora had wanted to do the same to her, and it was just hilarious how he was definitely going to do something very perverted, but all he could do was like touch her wings. And apparently the Fugle race here, they actually have like these spirit circuits that are in their wings and lets them fly, and I do believe that it also gives them like some sort of superhuman level strength. So that was like definitely interesting to see how the bodies are made up, because we saw like the spirit circuits, inside the bodies, and it's like flowing all throughout them. So that was like definitely interesting. And so now, because this Fugle is so obsessed with knowledge, and we see now what they were going to wager. We see that Sora, he had pulled out this tablet that apparently had over 40,000 worth of books inside, and that right there just drove this girl like freaking crazy. She was like so freaking excited that she actually started to drool, right on the tablet itself, and that right there was like definitely hilarious. Like that right there, definitely gave me a good chuckle out of it. And so now we see that the game they're going to play, because eventually, they actually do agree to their terms. And we see now that this Fugle, she was definitely kind of ahead of herself, because she was already adding, like this new rule in case she would have won. And that rule would have been that, sometimes they would have to come here, to have tea with her. So already, she was definitely confident and looking down, because she's a much higher race than them. And to her, the humans are probably lower than ants themselves. So of course, she'll be confident in herself. And so once they're going down to the elevator, we see now that the game they're going to play, it is called Materialization Shiritori. Hopefully I'm saying that right, but it's basically a game that whatever they will say, it'll appear. And so right off the bat, Sora did not waste any time, and of course him and Shiro are playing together. The first thing that Sora has summoned, it was the hydrogen bomb, and that right there, basically destroyed the area they were in. But luckily the Fugle here had used some like very high level spell that had formed this like protective barrier around them, but it did destroy the area around them. So like so the library they were in, it was like completely gone. And so now we see that the Fugle, the reason that she had really protected them is because she was not going to let them end the game so easily, especially on the first turn, because that right there, will be so freaking boring. Now, I'm not going to go over everything that they summon, but I will go, to where things got really important, and, things are overall, which is, pretty freaking good. So now eventually Jibril here, she got tired of all this dust and debris that's like around them, because like I said, the area was destroyed thanks to that hydrogen bomb. And so she actually, summoned the beach. And now we have Sora here being a complete pervert, because they were like summoning all the different things like bikinis, and right before Fugal, had summoned this beach, we have Sora that actually, made their nipples, and I also believe, their nether region just disappear. And so eventually, when all their clothes were gone, they didn't have to censor, their bodies, because that actually showed it, which like definitely surprised me. But I guess because they were like no nipples there and nothing else, they were actually allowed to show that. And so now we see that all the girls were like naked, while of course Sora here, had her clothes on. And it was just hilarious, how Steph here was like freaking out. I definitely felt bad for Steph, because she just got tortured in this episode basically. So I definitely felt like that she should have been kept out, because even she had wanted to leave, but of course because she still had to be their dog for a day, Shiro did not let her, and of course she told her to sit as well. And so it was just hilarious, how Sora was like getting so worked up, especially once they were naked. But we see now that eventually they do leave the beach, and they're at like some kind of like temple place. And so now we have Steph here being chased by this monster, and once again they're like summoning things. But eventually we see now that like Sora and Shiro, they're acting like they already won, and we see them walking up these stairs of the temple. And so eventually they're running up them, and they were like thanking Steph for all of her hard work, and they were saying that she actually might die a little bit. And so eventually we see them now, and they actually make they actually made the lethal spear disappear, and that right there is of course the surface of the planet. And the reason that Sora was able to make that go away, it was because that he first erased the mantle and the crust. So that right there, we're able to allow him to melt the surface so easily. And so now we see that they're all falling. But even so, Jibril is definitely not giving up, as she makes the Ace Eos Lumo. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But she make that disappear. Then Sora Shiro make the oxygen disappear, and then once again we have the Fugal. She make the nose disappear. Then we have the Stepia, and finally we have Jibril removing the air as if she can breathe, but of course she can't, because she didn't know the atomic theory. So that right there like kind of caught to her, because even though she has so much knowledge, it does not mean she knows every single thing. So because she lacked that knowledge, she had lost that. And so now we see that she's struggling, but we actually see that Sora and Shiro are not, because they were actually using a circular breathing, so that they would not be feeling these effects like her. And so now we see that they actually managed to get these words out, and it was the real atmosphere. And even though you would think that is over, because Jibril, right now she cannot talk at all, because she had lost her voice. And they were going to use that 30-second rule, where if you can't say anything you'll lose, to defeat her. But now we see that she actually used her magic, and she actually has spelled out this empty head epidemic. And so it was like all this time Sora was like expecting that, because obviously it made a lot of sense. Clearly these two are very smart, so if you take that away from them, then it'll make it a lot easier for her to win. And so we see that the Sora here, he already had a counter for that, and it was the colon force. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But basically what it did is it just made the supernova with it like destroying everything. And because Jibril had failed first, of course that they were going to hit her first. So even so, she had finally lost. No matter what happened, she had lost for sure, because there's no way she could freaking counter a hypernova. That right there, it's just game over. And so now we see at the end, she really had a lot of respect for Sora and Shiro, because they did come there and they did win. And we see now that she actually kind of like putting herself to them. So now Jibril is definitely gonna stay, you know, by their side, and it is pretty freaking awesome that we now have another character that kind of fall into like this main role here. So I am glad that, you know, she had joined the team, because I definitely believe that, you know, she'll be very helpful to our characters. And so it was funny, you know, because Steph actually died. We actually saw her, you know, fall into, you know, like the hot molten lava of the core of the world. We saw her fall into that, and it was just hilarious, you know, that when the game was over and we saw them all, you know, together again. It was just so freaking funny, you know, how Sora and Shiro didn't even care, but they actually, you know, welcomed her back. So that right there, you know, was hilarious. And we see now that she still has to pretend to be their dog, because apparently, you know, according to Sora and Shiro, the day isn't over till they go to bed. So I'm guessing, you know, in the next episode, that, you know, she'll finally be free of that, because they obviously are going to go to sleep soon. And we see now that that Fugal, or, you know, Jibril, she has now left the library, and she's now going to be in the castle with them. So that right there is pretty freaking cool. And so overall, I'm definitely glad to see that we are getting a new character. And that game, like I said, it was so freaking good. It was funny as well, but then we saw how serious it got, and that right there, you know, was just amazing. So overall, this episode, I give like a 9 out of 10, because that right there deserved it. This is definitely like my new favorite one. But as always, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. But as always, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe, because that really helps me out. And you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.